The
Business
Oddcast.
And hello and welcome to another Business Oddcast. This is Oddcast episode 19. I am your host, Stuart Morrison, and I said that,
Yeah, what's your name, Stu?
and this is my co-host.
And I'm a very determined, and I do remember my name, Hannah Logan.
Put me in my place, why don't you? Hello and welcome to the Business Oddcast. This week we are looking at business plans. As I said last week, we are doing a sort of program, progression, a series through the year to help you build your business if you're a neurodiverse business owner. We've put some structure around it and hopefully you'll get some benefit from that. This week, Hannah, we've got business plans, which are a hot topic. Business owners always talk about their business plans, their future plans. So this one, we're discussing how does that affect neurodiverse business owners. Putting a plan may be self-defeating. It may way overextend your energy deficits. You have that variable day-to-day energy budget, and that will affect your output. So we're going to be looking at that in terms of how do you couch that with failing if you're not performing to that future plan. Also, the PDA of who am I to tell me what to do. So there's a lot to dive into, and we'll be going through some of the hints and tips that we might have used over the years to help ourselves. So we're going to explore that and find out more and probably have some anecdotes and some laughs along the way. So let's get started. What is the topic?
Topic of the week.
So, Stuart, the topic is thriving without a 5-year plan. So, is that even possible? Yes, it must be, because I'm still alive and thriving with no plan at all. Yeah, and looking at the kind of short-term wins to create the long-term awesome for ourselves. So
Okay, fantastic. So we're looking at planning ahead, all of that stuff. What does that look like, and how do you achieve anything if you don't have a 5-year plan? Well, I'm a testament to the fact that 30 years in, my 5-year plan is to get through the next 5 years, full stop.
next 5 minutes for me, Stuart, literally.
I think the problem with a 5-year plan, and so I think we need to reverse this. We need to look at a wider, the 10,000 foot view of the subject. The plan is only worthwhile if it's going to require you putting in the detail now that allows you to roll that out in future. What do I mean by that? So the short-term thing is, let's say you were building a product and you know you needed to build that product and it needed to go to market by a certain day, and you had backers who were financing it and you've got some numbers around it and some concrete plans. Sure, put together a concrete plan over the next 18 months. But 5 years out, good luck. Good luck. There are businesses with whole buildings full of people who are staring into the future trying to figure it out. And even they don't get the visceral uptick in their stock prices. So how are you as a mere, and I'm not saying wave the white flag, but how are you as a mere small business owner going to weather the storms of 5 years? I don't know. So what do you do, Hannah Logan? What do you employ to keep yourself on the straight and narrow and moving towards the world domination that I know you have planned?
Oh, yeah, I am. I am literally taking over the world. I should quickly out myself at this point and say that I've never truly understood the concept of a 5-year plan, either really in life or business. I totally get that it's good to have some direction, something on the hill that you're aiming for. I really get that. But for me, I get a real buzz from the not knowing, and the excitement that you get from that keeps me really interested. And so there is no denying that there are huge fundamental parts of my life where I had the kind of, could be dead tomorrow. Who knows? Who knows? That kind of ambivalent kind of no plan, which I'm not recommending anybody that's listening at all. But whenever I have put in I've never put in a 5-year plan. Plans are really important, but also things evolve, don't they? You don't know. Sometimes you don't know where something's leading until you're like, oh, it's going this way. I mean, some of the most awesome parts of my life, I can't believe I'm saying this live on our podcast. Some of the most awesome parts of my life that have happened were not in a plan somewhere. And for me, the universe just kind of threw them up. And one of the best unplanned things in my life is my first child. She does know that she was unplanned and also incredible.
Yeah, we've got that in common.
If my husband and I joke about this. If we had planned, like, we're going to have a kid at this point. I mean, I got pregnant really, really early on in our relationship. I don't know, 2 autists together planning to have a child. Oh, we'd be 90 and be like, is it time yet? And we both agreed, she's the most, followed by our son as well, just the most awesome, best thing that ever happened to us as a couple. And it started a whole series of awesome. But yeah, she wasn't in a plan somewhere on a diary. She just appeared in my tummy. And not my tummy, by the way. I do know it's a womb. I didn't eat her.
Is it a food baby?
Yes, I've got one of those now, actually. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not trying to say a tangent so early on in this podcast. I'm not saying that plans are amazing, and we'll go through and talk you through that and the different ways that you can implement them. But for me, I've never consistently stuck to any kind of 5-year plan. I have a thing that I do it's not just birthday specific. Every year on my birthday, I think, how old are you, Hannah? 25. With the body of a 90-year-old. Every year I think, where are you at? Where are you at in life? Are you happy with where you are at? And every year so far, maybe not in the early years, certainly the last 15 years, I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's
absolutely
the key to it.
That's my kind of, my plan in a way. I know that I've diverted off a little bit.
No, it's interesting because I understand the concept, especially when you've got employees and you've got a team. The plan is what you execute against.
Yeah.
It's what the C-suite look at and judge themselves by. It's the way the shareholders make sure that the people they've put in place to run their business for them are doing it to the right plan. And having that plan, whether it's on the back of a napkin or it's really, really, really detailed, I don't necessarily think that it's going to pan out the way that you expect it. There's an accompanying blog, and I talk about the German field marshal,
Yes.
which was there's a lengthier explanation to this. Go and read the blog post. But it effectively is no battle plan survives contact or first contact with the enemy. And the idea being, the second part of this kind of thing that he wrote about was being adaptable. Allowing yourself a plan that allows you to be flexible. And I think that's the key to this is, have a plan. But plan A, all very well and good, that's your best judgment. But when have you ever gone out into the world and gone, I'm going to go and do this, and the rest of the world has complied without any kind of pushback, feedback, or
Trip hazards.
Yeah, exactly. Unexpected items in the baggage area. The point to it is that having a small business, you are like a cork on an ocean. And if you go hell for leather and say, I'm going to sail to the Bahamas, you can't get bent out of shape if tide and time take you to,
Somewhere
Greenland.
near the Bahamas.
Somewhere cold and unhospitable. But I think the key to it is not pinning your happiness on the outcome of the destination, but being happy about the process that you have in place to earn the money that you need to live. So I do think planning is important, but I think the very nature of neurodiversity, especially living in the world that we live, New Year's resolutions, yeah, good luck that lasting. A 5-year plan. Oh dear Lord. So the key to it, I think, and I think there's a lot to unpack around this, is having a vision or a purpose or having something that when you make a decision, you know that you're making that decision because it's moving you in the direction you want to go rather than the direction of travel that's easiest.
Yeah.
Which can always be a pull for somebody whose brain is distractible, and I know that. Oh, shiny thing, let's do that. The amount of times I've done that, somebody comes along and interrupts your perfectly little, acceptable and comfortable bubble and goes, would you like to do this? And your brain goes, yes, before you go, hang on a minute, how are you going to work out how to do that? Because you're going to be doing all this other stuff as well. So over the years, I've learned to only say yes to the things that are moving me in the direction that I want to be generally moving in. What about yourself? How do you cope with the 5-year plan?
I think I always have a bit of a sketchy vision in my brain. So I don't think of it, the rigidity of a 5-year, because then I know that the way that my brain works and the way that myself, harshness on myself. I'm a perfectionist and I have to put that in a box because otherwise it derails me, and I'd be like, that wasn't good enough, Hannah, because you're not like Richard and Judy, or I don't always say Richard and Judy. I don't know why they're my life goals. It's bizarre. David Letterman. I don't know. For me, I just feel like a lot of my goals are I'm going to do less, or I'm going to have a more restful job, or my client base is going to become the work. I mean, this is ideal, right? Ideal scenario. But my client base is going to become the work that I look forward to every day. So for me, those are my goals, and they are kind of beyond a 5-year plan, I suppose. It's almost like the ultimate goal, I'm going to earn more, work less, work with nicer, I work with some great people, but, work on better product, whatever. So I suppose...
More aspirational statement?
Yeah, it is aspirational, really. And it changes. I've had years where I needed to, I really want to earn this. It was very money driven. I'm now in a place in my life where, yeah, gosh, we all need money, right? But actually I'd rather earn less and spend less and and have a kind of slower pace of working and stuff. So, yeah, to me, if I set a 5-year goal, it would feel really rigid. And the ADHD in my brain would be like, no, there's no room for becoming like a unicorn trainer or whatever random rubbish. Not rubbish, ever random. I started this year, right, as I think I was thought I was, I launched pivoted a different business again to do some VA work. And then, by the end of it, I'm a co-host on a podcast with you with some exciting things coming up this year, 2026, in a totally different direction, a better direction. But that wasn't on a 5-year plan. I had no idea. It just, I carried on bumbling through life, doing my thing, and magnificent things that were not even vaguely on a radar of it. Does that make sense? I'm not trying to be bitching about the 5-year plan, because it's really successful for some people to keep them motivated and keep them on track. But for me, like you said earlier, so with the squirrel, for me, my brain is no, if you set a kind of really crazy 5-year plan, I'm either going to fight it or I'm going to kind of beat myself up every time I didn't hit that kind of milestone. Yeah. So there's certainly some flexibility to be needed in a lot of our
yeah, when I think back over the years of, I've had various bursts at trying to expand and grow. And back then I didn't understand what was going on inside. So there was no way of being able to include that in anything that was going on outside. So I was pushing myself at a rate which, looking back, I am thankful I didn't do some long-term and permanent damage to myself for thinking that I can keep going no matter what. That's what you do in business. And some days you do. You have to show up and you have to do what you need to do. But I've tempered it over the years with the thought that if you break, you've got a longer road to recovery.
Yeah.
And so the output that I have now and the processes that I have in place and the work that I take on is done in the full knowledge that I think to myself, on a Monday with no energy, how are you going to achieve that?
Yeah.
And I need a plan in place to allow me to, and I have this, I have various people who help me out. I do the work that I need to do so they can do the work that the client needs to be done. And that works for me. Trying to grow that and manage multiple and having that every day, day in, day out, breaks me.
Yeah.
So, it's to a certain extent, cut your lifestyle cloth accordingly.
Yeah.
To the energy budget that you have. And I'd much rather be pottering in my studio doing a podcast which makes no money.
Yet, people.
Yet. And being really open and honest about that. But saying, this is a direction that is different.
Yeah.
I would think that this is a path that I'm going to continue on for the next at least 2 years. Things have happened already that we could never have planned for. Being contacted by a radio station, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in the Petersfield and Borden area, please tune in to Shine Radio, available on DAB and digital. But that opportunity wouldn't have come along if we hadn't thrown the dice and gone, let's just see how a podcast works.
Yeah.
And people are going, oh yeah, but it's all right for you. You might have loads of skills in that. But I'm cobbling it together as I go. I'm reading articles. I'm listening to YouTube. And yes, my special interest is technology and camera gear and recording stuff. And I've done a lot of it. But the barrier and entry level is a lot lower than you used to think it would be. And if something as simple as this has got us that, then what will that, which is produced by ex-BBC people, like properly good people who are going to up our game, what will that bring along? So how does that fit into a 5-year plan?
Yeah, and I wonder if with what we're doing here with the podcast, that was never driven by, well, it didn't feel like this anyway at the time. For me, that was driven by a need, and it was your suggestion. I'd never even thought about a podcast. It wasn't even on my brainium at all. But for me, it was about, I feel really passionately about neurodiversity and advocating for neurodiverse people and, helping our tribe and all of that stuff. And that's kind of why we got here in a way, isn't it? We bonded on that, and then we ended up,
yes,
it evolved into...
I think this meets my very clear purpose that I've always wanted to help people who don't have the skills and abilities that I do, whether that is technically with websites and even, people come to me and ask me and I don't know the answer, but I probably have the person that has a clearer idea of how to find the answer than they do. And that's what sort of draws people in, the fact that I can solve problems. So allowing myself the flexibility of other projects and other things that feed my special interests really sort of fuels me, keeps me engaged. And I think it doesn't matter how much money you earn. You don't. I know some very high net worth individuals who are completely disillusioned with their businesses. It was a struggle for them every day to come in and plough through it and keep it going. And I think to myself, too many days like that, and I'd walk off a pier. I just don't. It's
absolutely that. Do you think this is possibly a bold statement? So when I was in denial about my autism, in hindsight, it was clearly obvious. But when I was in my early 20s, oblivious, I'd been to uni and then I was working up in London, employed. I did have a very neurotypical 5-year plan. Like, I'm in this role now, but in a couple of years I should be leveled up, get the higher up job and then here and here and, and then I could move to here. And there was a lot more. At that point, there definitely was more of the kind of 5-year vibes from me because I was going by what I was seeing, everywhere else. When we were at uni, like, what are you going to do when you leave, and what job are you going to? I don't know. I was just gonna bumble along and see what happens. So, and I did wing it. I got a holiday job through a friend in sales, and I went from a design degree to like a sales career, and it was fine. It worked. I just was going with my my instinct on that. So.
But I think even highly motivated, highly trained, highly skilled individuals who have spent a long time training and have, I know family members, I'm doing this and then I'm progressing to that, and then that will allow me to do this particular course, which will open up that. Great. I almost admire the fact that if that's what you're trying to achieve, but that usually is within a set structure, a medical setting, a legal setting, a career setting. Self-employment is a little bit more, I've said, it's like being in a small boat on a tempestuous sea. You have to go where you think it's going to be safest for you or easiest for you. And there's no business book in the world that is going to tell you how easy or hard it's going to be. They'll make predictions and they'll give you some general things. But it's always kind of, it's going to be really, 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 really hard, And don't get me wrong, it is. And the hardest thing is the mental game of staying in it. That when it isn't working, not panicking, going like, I've done it many times. Pivot. If it's not working, pivot. Do you know what? Everyone
I'm
goes,
the queen of pivot.
But won't people think that, do you know what my short answer is? Fuck them.
Yeah, who cares about who are these people?
Exactly.
and when did they become the boss of me? I just don't get
there's
it.
Not a committee out there that's going to call you in and say, well, last year
Stuart's pivoted again.
you were a copywriter, but this year you appear to be writing to be, pig farmer. What's going on? Look, if it isn't working for a few months in a row, there is nothing wrong, and ignore all the hustle culture, ignore all the people who go, you've got to go through the hard yards. You absolutely do. But when your finances are such that going through the hard yards means either you completely burn out or you break yourself financially, where's the point in that? So what happens then? This is also a problem. You've got your 5-year plan. Let's say you've put your 5-year plan in place, and your 5-year plan as a neurodiverse person is to get through the next 5 years with enough money and my sanity intact. That, I tell you, that's hard work right there. Just those
that is my
things.
5-year plan.
Exactly.
Staying alive for the next 5 years.
And whilst you can be flexible during that, like, I'm going to set out on this course and I'm going to do these things, what do you do with that multiple ideas syndrome? Because like I have them all the time. I send you stuff and go, we should try this, what about that, I'm thinking about this. How do you cope with that? Because that's going to pull you off course.
I do struggle with that because my brain chases squirrels more than your average. and I have to be careful. But for example, my daughter and I do, like, as a side hobby, really, side hustle hobby, a craft stall. We usually do a couple a year, Christmas generally. But we've had to be really strict because especially my daughter's the same as me. And she'll be like, she'll be churning out, she hand paints like bookmarks. She'll be churning out those. And then I'll be like, okay, you've got like 5 billion of those now. You need to. So she's either just on a production line where, she and I have a tendency to, like, right now I'm doing this. Okay, we need to stick to a few things, and I liken that to my business. I mean, a few months ago, I just did a course in being a counsellor, like only at the first level, like a level 2, because I was like, I don't want to be a counsellor. My brain just needed that tangent. I did that for a few weeks, passed it, and then I put it in a box, and I'll never visit it again.
Is that counsellor with a C or an S?
So with a
County
S.
counsellor?
No,
Or a
so I am a
therapist
Yeah,
counsellor?
yeah. Therapy counsellor.
Okay.
But actually, that's an example of, I'm a big fan of upskilling, but that was an example of I just had to scratch that itch. I won't put it into my work. It's not relevant, really. I just, so that's kind of...
You wanted to go and try something?
I do, but, like you were saying, what do I do with all of the ideas? If they're related, I try and store them all together and hope that I kind of will visit them at some point.
It's quite useful to keep an ideas bank. I
Yeah.
often think to myself, I know what I want to achieve, and it's the squirrel moment where
Yeah.
something is going to drag my attention. And I've learned that over the years, have your core things, stick to them, be good at them, get known for them, and then allow yourself the flexibility that if something does take your interest, sure, dip your toe in it, have a look at it. It may be the next thing, but be disciplined enough to just put it on a list. And if it keeps coming back to you, get in on it. Have a go at it. Have a think about it. That was always the way I sort of ended up approaching things, that people often come to me because they know that I do various types of business and have various business interests. But it allows you to go, hang on a minute, just because somebody's come and asked doesn't mean to say I have to say yes. People have said no to me and I have survived in my life. So if I say no to this person, they will survive.
They will get through it.
Yeah. And I think that's important as well, to have a red rope around your time and protect it, because that time is also energy.
Yeah.
You only have one lot of energy that you can spend on those particular projects. How do you then stack that, even if you've got the flexibility, with constantly changing energy levels, interest, PDA, RSD, it's a whole grab bag of various things that have to come together for any work to get done. So how do you keep that consistency in business?
I think consistency is a bit overrated.
It's okay.
I said it here. I'm going to get blown up on.
Everyone in the business community hates you.
So I like to think with the work that the work I do for clients is very consistent. It's consistent in the quality. I'm not, how do I word this? I'm not consistently reliable. I don't mean in my work. I don't show up as the same version of Hannah every day. But because I know that, I manage my work and make sure that I'm doing particular client work on a day where I can produce the same level of work and it's going to be consistent. So from their point of view, they're not seeing me like binge watching Netflix on a day that I'm not very consistent. They're just seeing me, or they're seeing their work just coming, being consistent and quality and everything. I think at this point I'd quite like to give a shout out to anyone that thinks that they never finish anything, because maybe sometimes finishing something isn't the point, right? Maybe the point is the learning that you go through that process and the things that you learn when you go through that process. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. That is like, if AI comes along and it takes your interest, you don't have to leap into it with this is going to be my new business direction. It can just be, I need to learn about this, or at the very least have an understanding to just appraise it. Just, is this a useful thing? Is this a thing I could maybe take advantage of?
Yeah.
So it's that curiosity to lean in, but not that flagrant disregard for the original mission.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember probably a year ago, I got really into, and it is linked to the work that I do now, I got really into the user experience of websites because I discovered that I'm just really good at kind of navigating and seeing the bits that need to improve and seeing where the holes are and stuff. So I did a course online about UX. And actually that just sat in the back of my brain as something that I found really, really interesting. And then now I am working a lot more with that stuff. So that's not what I do. I'm not an expert in UX. But because I was drawn to it because I found it incredibly interesting. And maybe that's the point I'm making here. Get to the point, Hannah. What is the point you're making, Hannah? I think that's my point. I lean in If I try to avoid the squirrel moments, but if something is interesting to me and I think that I'm going to enjoy it, I will lean into it and learn it. And then it will invariably pop up at some point in my working future and be useful. But if it wasn't, this is the point, coming back to the point, if it never reappears again, then maybe it was just a chance to get the old brain, pumping again and sort of... Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I guess I'm trying to give people
it's like
an
exercising the learning muscle.
Yeah.
And being open to new ideas, but not... It's almost like having a waiting room or triaging them before adopting them. And that's what I've got better at over the years, rather than going, no, I'll do that now, because that's now really, amazing and interesting. It's going to be fantastic. And this person's come along and, it can be difficult. And one of the things that I really have embraced is the 90-day sprint.
Yeah.
So here's an example. When I suggested this podcast to you, we had nothing. I had an idea, a general direction of travel, and the possibility of what it was I was trying to achieve. But I left the rest of it open because, especially with a creative endeavour, I have found that if you go to another creator and you give them no room for their input, other than to turn up and deliver their technical skill, whether that's acting, singing, dancing, or whatever it is, that's going to be of very low interest to them, because they're not going to exercise the one thing that they want to do, which is the skill they have is the expression of their creativity. If you go, turn up and do this, well, they're just like a bus driver. A to B, that's what I want. But if you say you can go from A to B in whatever way you want, that's the more interesting part. There's many different ways of doing this as a small business owner. And I think those 90-day sprints, when we started, all I had was, in my head, I want to get to episode 21. Because that's where most...
Not far, Stuart.
Next one. But that 21 was kind of like, it's only 1% of all podcasts ever reach that point. Well, at that point, it's a success. And that's the only success I wanted to achieve. It's kind of taken on a life of its own. It's become its own thing. But I think that's because we have a very clear vision that we want to communicate that self-employment, running a business, is perfect if you're neurodiverse, because it allows you to shape your working day, your working environment. You don't have to ask permission to wear headphones. You don't need anyone looking at you weird because you're in your pajamas. Well, obviously, if you've got a team of 50 around you and you turn up in your pajamas, but hey, if it's your business and you turn up in pajamas,
you're the boss of you.
You're the boss of you. So I think those 90-day sprints are useful. One, I always feel if it feels way too hard in those first 90 days, it's probably an indication of how hard it's going to be and harder going forward. But when I mentioned it to you and you lit up, and then we sort of messaged backwards and forwards, and it became very clear very quickly what it was going to be. And we've spoken to other people and the doors have just fallen open. It's not like we've had to actually even knock on them. People are opening the doors before we've even arrived at them. And that in a business can be extremely important, that encouragement, that early thing. So, 90 days, give yourself 90 days. Oh, I'm going to be really interested in this for 90 days. If you get to the end of 90 days and it is a viable means to make money, yeah, sure, incorporate it. I'm not saying don't, but evaluate, know thyself. 90 days in, how much has this taken of me?
Yeah.
If we'd have got to the end of 90 days and for whatever reason it wasn't gelling, whatever.
You're just crying in a corner.
Just, Stuart, they're really great, but the day after and for 2 days after, I am just done. That's not going to work long term. So I get it. How do you plan ahead now? Now, given, what we've discussed and all the rest of it, what sort of things could you advise the listeners about?
What top tips?
Takeaways, things that might allow them to make their lives a little easier.
So, I don't know if this is a top tip. For me, the way that my neurodiverse brain works, planning is less about predicting the future and more about actually supporting the version of me right now so that she can thrive and continue into that future, if that doesn't sound too weird.
No, getting to the next day is a valuable...
And I do I do have goals. I've kind of poo-pooed them along the way, but I do have goals. We all have goals, right? As we get older. Well, no, it's not even we all want something on the horizon that we're heading vaguely towards, but with that flexibility that brains like yours and mine and a lot of our listeners have, with that flexibility that if we slightly change angle and head to a different bit on the horizon, then we're not going to beat ourselves with a stick. I suppose so. My advice really is just try and move towards the shiny things, but the shiny things that I know will serve me. I've got enough experience now to not go off down a rabbit hole of crazy and end up, training as a lion tamer for a few months or whatever. I've never done that, but there's an idea. No, Hannah, no, get back. I loved what you said about the 90-day sprints. I see that as kind of manageable chunks,
And it doesn't have to be 90 days. It can be 30 days. It could be 180 days. It could be an entire year. But the point to it is you have a particular short-term goal. And 90 days for me is about as far in the future as I want to be staring at any one point.
Yeah, I like that because exactly what you said about the podcast. We were just thinking, okay, well, let's do it and see what happens. And then let's do this. And, that, just biting off little manageable chunks. Because if you give yourself 2 months to achieve something, if it doesn't happen, then you know that you can adapt that and set a different goal, or set a more realistic goal. So it's just about taking chunks and managing them rather than looking at, this 5-year plan that's just not sustainable.
It can seem almost impossible to even begin to, how do I even begin a new direction or to grow my business or to do whatever? Small chunks, 90 days. What can you do? Does your website need some payment thing? Can you reduce the form login details? Do you add authentication in that place instead of that? Write down a very specific thing and then go and set out, because there's nothing like achieving something to give you that massive dopamine hit of a tick box and, oh my God.
Yeah, and I was much less like that until I kind of got to know you. And I'll be honest, when we were first talking about this podcast, my brain does go to, where's it going to end up? What's the end bit? What's the thing on the end of the stick at the... Only because my ADHD brain is like, I want to see I want to see what happens at the end. But actually, the way that we have done it, guided by you, in this respect, has been amazing, because you are so much more like, well, let's try this, and we've evolved in the way that we record, and we've evolved in the topics and the structure of that and stuff, because we're just growing, aren't we? Evolving, growing, getting better, just finding our natural rhythm. It's so nice.
There is a rhythm to it, but I think that's what marks it out from chaos.
Yeah. It's not a chaos at all. Yeah,
we are here.
It's feeling our way through it, knowing what we're doing.
What is the next thing that we could possibly do to make this better?
Yeah. I suppose it is. Yes, it is about keeping the momentum by keeping the joy in it. Not burning yourself out and hating whatever you're doing to a point where suddenly it's not. You're not growing with it and evolving, and it's hard to explain. I probably explained it a lot better previously. But
if you are not pushing something forward and it's not developing, it takes a lot of energy to stay upbeat, positive, focused, and looking forward, because you're constantly looking down, going, "Oh, this isn't working. This is crap. The customers aren't here, or whatever," and I quite often see businesses struggling, especially small businesses, because they just won't make a pivot. They just think that their best idea was the first idea or the idea that they've just had. Yeah. And they stall. And then they get disillusioned. So I get the idea for the momentum, definitely. And business isn't perfect. It is a bit messy. It fits and starts. Some days you have a good day. Other days you don't. Some months you're up, some months you're behind. I've never really measured my success with the money. I know that's so weird to say that. Kind of the money takes care of itself, to be fair. As long as you know that you've got more coming in than going out, you'll be all right.
Keep the wolves from the door.
Yeah, I know that sounds a little bit reductive, but over the years I've had all sorts of complicated plans, even quite open ones, flexible ones. Like I've said, nothing beats the feeling that you can pay your bills,
Yeah.
and doing the things that you like to pay your bills is better than having a job. So, at times when it is tough and I don't have the energy, but I still have to put the effort out there, I just console myself with the fact that this is only for now. This might be only for 90 days.
Yeah.
There's somebody out there right now who doesn't know when this is going to end and is effectively just doing a job day in, day out. They absolutely hate.
Treadmill of pain.
Just
That Groundhog Day.
Yes, absolutely.
I remember once when I was much younger, like just after uni and stuff, early 20s. And I remember, you probably remember this time in your own life. You'd get a week from payday and be like, oh, have I got enough to cover that mobile bill when that comes out? And I remember at that point in my life thinking, I just want to earn. And actually in hindsight, for me, it's always been those little incremental goals. I just want to earn enough that I don't feel stressed out 10 days before payday, because I'm like, there's enough in there. I'm not a millionaire, but there's enough in there to cover the basics. And then I got to that point. And then I thought, I just want enough that, I could put a little aside, or I could go out once in a while. So it is these little tiny goals. And there's no disrespect to anybody listening that wants to be mega rich and that's their big goal. That's absolutely cool too. If that is your goal, that's great. I'm not dissing that. But for me, it always was little, I just want a slightly nicer car. And life has so far, very fortunately, given me those things. And I've not felt, because the goals have never been giant, it's never felt, if I didn't achieve one, I didn't feel like a mega failure and a loser. I just pivoted again, like you said, just that kind of pivoting and keeping an open mind to your goals, rather than having this concrete 5-year, it's year one and you didn't get to that point, you're a loser. And, and then you're constantly looking at what you didn't achieve. Whereas the way that I do it now and the way that you do it now, I'm like, yeah, tick, tick, dopamine flow, hooray, I had some money left over when it was payday, or, just these little tiny goals.
Yes, but I just don't understand you have to be in business and it has to be horrible and hard, and every day is a stress and a stretch, and I don't have the mental capacity, the energy capacity, the bandwidth to deal with that level of crap. I've tried over the years, and I think for me the tips, if somebody was to say to me, okay, give me some tips, I think the first thing you've got to get a grip with is your energy budget. Yeah. For me, it's 20 hours a week. If I can build 20 hours of productive work, everything's going to be fine. Everything will be fine. Some weeks I'm up on that. Some weeks I'm behind. Some months I'm way behind. Some months I'm way ahead. It's a lumpy cash flow, but it's smoothed out by having a limited company which just holds the finances in it. So I do energy blocking. So if a customer says to me, can you do this, like immediately, and I look at my diary and I've got too many chunky blocks of work in that's more than 20 hours, I bump it to the following week. Now you could say, yeah, but Stuart, strike while the iron's hot, do the work this week and you can save the time next week. Yes, but when I get to next week, I'm going to need those extra hours to recover. So I'm not getting ahead. What I'm doing is I'm putting off my recovery, and my recovery is, don't forget, is rest, is preparation for the work ahead, not reward for the work done. And so if I have a rest day, which Fridays, especially Friday afternoons, they tend to be, that's not me bunking off early. No. That's me preparing for Monday. Yeah. And if I don't do that, and I do too many Fridays, I get to too many Mondays where I am frazzled, because I know that the weekend won't be necessarily straightforward. There will be, like this weekend, we've got a big family event. That means that my Sunday is done. I have no Sunday. My Sunday's job is recovering. So my Monday has to be fairly light. So that time blocking, I think I would really recommend getting on top of.
Yeah. Do you find that I know that it's the right thing to do, and when I do it, it works really well, and yet my ADHD brain is just like, do it all now, Hannah, go, do it till 4 a.m. Don't worry about tomorrow, you'll be fine. Extra can of Diet Coke.
Yes, well, especially if a hyperfocus kicks in, doesn't it?
But at the time, it gives me such a rush, such a buzz. When I'm like the other weekend, I was just cruising, wasn't I? I did a blog and I was just churning it out like a machine.
Smashed it.
And I loved it, and I felt so good about myself. And actually, because it was stuff I loved doing, it didn't hurt. The next day I was fine. But I do have a tendency to get locked into a project, and rather than be sensible and say, you know what, if you do a 10-hour day on this, you are going to really regret it.
Yeah, that's the hyperfocus though as well, isn't it? You've got your special interests, you've got your hyperfocus, you've got a project it's almost like a perfect storm of dopamine.
Yeah.
How do you stay away from licking the lollipop when the lollipop tastes so nice? Another tip, add novelty and celebrate wins. There's way too many people. Listen, look, you're your own boss. You get to choose your hours. You are at the mercy of your customers.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if you want to go and have a sauna at 3:00 on a Friday afternoon, go and have that sauna. Life's too short. It'll probably be packed from 5:00 onwards anyway. If you're starting to feel like, oh, this is stuff I need to avoid, then get rid of it.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. Nobody needs that kind of energy in their life.
No.
Too many times I've taken on projects, and in the back of my head, my little voice has gone, no, and you're sharp, we need the money. Now, if you do need the money, I mean, pragmatically, yes,
you just tore yourself out for whatever that is.
But be aware of what you're doing. Don't lie to yourself. I think a lot of this is about lying to yourself and or fooling yourself in thinking you're a version of a person that you are not. Yeah. And I have been so many times the version of Stuart who isn't neurodiverse, who doesn't have...
I bet he's boring. But he wears sensible clothes.
He sleeps a lot, I can tell you that much. Very angry a lot of the time.
Wears chinos.
I tell you, if somebody sees me walking down the street in a pair of chinos, please come up and
I'll
kidnap
just run you
me.
over.
No, kidnap me.
Oh yeah.
I am being Stepford wived. I have been hypnotised into wearing
rowboat
slacks.
stew.
Yeah,
but not the cool one with guns.
No. I think this is the key. This is the key to it, and I've found this absolutely central. If you become an expert in what you do, and hopefully if you are self-employed you will be seen as that, whether it's and this is no shame here, whether it's clearing people's houses, washing laundry, cleaning ovens, doing what people might call menial tasks. They're not menial tasks. They have value and they are important that they get done. The point to it is that you need to do you. And again, there's no shame in saying this scenario doesn't work for me. It stopped working for me. And the beauty of it is being your own business person, being your own boss. You can choose what you walk away from.
Yeah.
And zero shame. If anyone comes to me and says to me, I've tried doing this, it's not working, I'm doing something else, I'm going to go and get a job. We quite often in our small business community have people say, quite legitimately, either I've been working with this customer and I've done such a great job, they've offered me a full-time position, so I'm going to go and do that. Brilliant. Well done you. Fantastic. You gave it your best shot. There's no shade, no shame.
Yeah.
You'll never go to your grave going, I didn't try it. You at least gave it a go. And you can always come back. There's no shame. I have over the years, here's a confession, looked at the classified ads, looked at, Indeed.com and gone and poured through it and gone, I could do that. And then you read it and then you're like, yeah, and then I've got somebody telling me what to do. And then they're going to expect me 9 to 5 for 5 days a week. And my energy doesn't show up like that. My energy shows up for 20 hours a week. It's fucking awesome. It dances on the edge. It dazzles. It makes people ooh and ah. and
sleeps for a bit.
and then it needs time to go and just do other things. So if you are listening to this and you're thinking my business isn't working, but I just got to push on, reassess. Please reassess your world, your life, your mental health, your energy needs you more than the world needs your small business.
Absolutely that.
There are many business gurus who will say, no, keep ploughing on or whatever. If you need to take time off and regroup with a job, go do that. Please just don't feel a slavish. Don't leave our community. Stay, hang around.
Always.
Tell us what it's like. Give us some feedback. And my final tip for this episode is, if you have got way too many tasks on your task list, at some point something will break. And I have found over the years that's me. And there are going to be things on your task list that you've had on there for 6 months or more. Just delete them. Or if they are crucial or critical and you need them done, just outsource them. Get someone else to do them. Because anything that's on a to-do list that long is just a grief list, is a shame list. Is a stress list. It's not a to-do list. It's your own self-shame.
Haunting list.
You've got jobs haunting your list, your to-do list.
I've got so many.
I should start a new to-do list.
Just burn it.
Too many files in my structure that are to-do version 204, 205.
In the notes of my phone.
I'm just thinking about it. It's a bit like those guys who have families and then go, this isn't working, and they nope out and they go and start a new one. Just leave them over there.
Don't
do that.
That's not such a great life pivot.
But the point to it is, if there are things on your to-do list that you're looking at thinking, I really should be, investing in blah, 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 or starting a marketing, no, park it. Or go and
do it.
Go and speak to somebody and say, I've had this on my to-do list. This is your permission to go and knock on someone's door. There is plenty of resources out there where these days you can reach out to experts of all fields. Just punt it over to them. The amount of times I've spoken to somebody who's gone, I'm really glad you asked that. Nobody ever asks me about this sort of stuff, or nobody ever involves me in these, because my projects tend to be a bit out there. It tends to make people lean in, and there's a bit of excitement. You get to work with a man with a tash and the suit,
Always a pleasure.
So do you have any last takeaways, tips, hints, things that we could round this out with nicely to give people some hope for the future?
I always come back to, if you can do it, harnessing your own energy and making whatever goals you're setting prioritise you first. Does that make sense? I've not explained that.
Put your own oxygen mask on first.
Yes. Stuart says it in 5 words and I say it in 2. If you are not at the front of that priority queue, nothing else is going to work, right? Because if you go down, you're taking everything with you. So for me, I need goals. I need to be ticking things off the list and feeling like I'm achieving stuff. But that flexibility and that no shame and that putting myself first and my energy first is utterly crucial. And I think none of that really buys into the neurotypical version of a kind of business plan or a kind of life plan, or does it? It's not. It's almost the anti-plan, really. But it's still just as effective. But it's evolved for the way that our brains work, and all our brains work differently, regardless of whether we're neurotypical or neurodiverse.
What you've got to think about is a great big wall of pick and mix, and each one of those pick and mix ideas are the ideas and you can go up to it and you can take whatever you like that's going to work for you. There is no prescription here. This is just here's a cornucopia of ideas. Take the ones that seem to resonate and work, iterate and improve as you need them to. But don't listen to other people, and certainly don't listen
Apart from us, listen to us, Stu.
Yes, listen to us
Just
and
us.
nobody else. But that whole point of putting your own oxygen mask on first, I've said that to so many people, and so many people push back. Oh, what about my family? What about this? Just selfish. That's just another code for selfish. No, listen. When a pilot is having an emergency at 30,000 feet, he's not running up and down the middle aisle asking people to put on their oxygen masks. He straps on his oxygen mask. He's not thinking about the people behind. As long as the systems in place have done what they need to do, they'll be all right. I've got to focus on whatever this is that is making this 20 tons of metal fall out of the sky when it should be flying everyone to Marbella. So don't worry if you think, oh, but that's very selfish. Yes, being in business in some regards is being selfish, and being neurodiverse in business, you have to be selfish.
Yeah.
Otherwise, other people will break you. And guess how I know that? I know that firsthand for many reasons. And so I can't encourage people who are listening too much to reassess their priorities, and I don't mean this in drop your ambition, lower your eyes, you're not worth it, is just reassess where you need to be and how quickly you are going to get there. Because if you get there and your mental health is in tatters, what fun? What fun then? Hey, listen, there's a lot more that we're going to talk about, business plans and business planning, I'm sure. We have many things coming up, and we've got a lot to talk about. So, Hannah, what's the any last before we get on to the next week's topic? Any last words for our listener? What would you say?
What would I say?
What's resonated?
Whenever I follow my instinct, it's worked a lot better. Not doing what I think I should be doing, but actually going with what feels right. And it seems to work out a lot better that way. So maybe trusting your gut.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Trust your gut. Don't plan too far ahead. Make sure your energy budgets are appropriate. And if you've got any comments, anything you would like to talk to us about, any suggestions, if you'd like to come on, we're quite happy to have a third microphone and have somebody here talking to us about whatever topics they are. So before we go, Hannah, I've just realised, what is the topic of next week? Is it a good one?
I can't remember.
So what is the topic next week?
So the topic for next week, episode 21, is business plans that don't suck, because we're allergic to boring.
We're going to be looking at...
It's a good one.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
We spoke about a 5-year plan, about not having a plan, and then next week we're going to talk to you about what an actual neurodiverse business plan might look like, the things that you should be thinking about. We've covered a few of them here, but some practical tips and some practical advice to help you perhaps get yourself on track without having to think, oh my God, 5-year plan.
Kill me.
So thank you very much for listening, and we'll speak to you, or you'll hear us next week. Goodbye.
Tell your friends. Goodbye. Step away from PAYE. Don't do it.